Film School Slacker contains adult language and themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Film School Slacker, where I help my best friend Ian go through his ever-growing watch list. I am Megan.
Hi, Megan. I'm Ian.
Like, you're Ian, not Megan. I'm Megan? You're Ian.
I said hi, Megan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I heard I'm Megan.
I'm Megan.
No.
Having a full-on crisis today.
That's okay. And since I'm doing the intro, we are doing a Flip the Script episode. So it's a movie that Ian has seen and I have not.
Yes.
And what is that movie?
Oh, we are watching Gravity, a 2013 science fiction thriller directed by Alfonso Cuarón, starring Sandra Bullock, George Clooney.
And that's it.
And that's about it. The music is composed by Stephen Price, cinematography by Emmanuel Lubezki, and written by Alfonso Cuarón and his son Jonas Cuarón.
Oh,
Jonas Cuarón.
Probably Jonas.
Produced by Alfonso Cuarón and David Heyman, who did the first couple of Harry Potters.
Oh, well, I mean, Alfonso Cuarón
did the third. Yep. And Warner Brothers, blah, 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 blah. I feel like there was more that I was going to say.
I don't know.
And it was edited by Alfonso Cuarón and Mark Singer.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. It's basically...
He was very hands-on in this movie, apparently.
This is definitely a movie that existed because a father and son wanted to fuck around with fun camera shit.
You know what? Go for it.
I don't know. They're like, hey, Dolby Atmos just came out.
Oh, yeah.
And also, we're going to do this crazy, like kind of proto tech they used for like The Mandalorian. We're going to use all of that tech and do a lot and build this movie totally the way that we want to do it.
Yeah.
Which I have thoughts about it, but I kind of want to see if yours just line up with mine on that.
Let's hold on to that.
Yeah.
Put a pin in that.
Putting a pin in that.
I don't really know that much about this movie except it's space and Sandra Bullock flying around space.
It is all those things.
You've told me about the soundtrack being incredible and the editing being incredible, or the cinematography and such being incredible. So I'm going to take your word for that. I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, don't take my word for it. Definitely, I'm excited to know, because you and I have very similar sensibilities in the movies we like, but our approaches are usually from different angles. Yeah. And I know that we're going to have thoughts about that, so I'm excited.
I already know there's gonna be some angry groaning while we're watching it.
I'm really excited. I'm also excited to just hang out and not have to take notes on this one. That's true. One of the little things to look forward to with the Flip the Script is just kind of be like, I get to hang out for this one.
I actually have to do the work.
Yeah. Boo.
That's all right. I like work.
Yeah. When it's stuff like this.
Yes. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being the case, shall we roll the tape?
Let's roll it. And I'm nauseated.
Yeah.
I need a Dramamine. Like, for real. Oh my God.
We'll order some food after we're done recording.
Yeah. That was a good decision.
Yeah.
To wait hold off on ordering food, because I need a minute. My inner ear is unhappy.
This has some choice words for you right now. Yeah. So besides the nausea, how are you feeling?
I actually didn't hate it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah.
I originally thought this was like a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah.
It was only like 90 minutes. So
yeah.
That, helps.
Yeah. 100%.
I was expecting a little more like Space Odyssey type,
right?
Right. like where it just goes on for no reason.
It's just like these long shots of space with nothing happening.
Yeah.
It's almost sort of, to me, so much the opposite of Space Odyssey that it kind of comes back around.
Yeah.
Like, it is a I've described this as a thrill ride and not a movie.
Yeah, that's definitely how it feels, especially with the nausea.
Right. Right.
It's like a theme park ride.
It's a theme park ride. Yeah. Yeah.
Where it's almost like a one person D&D campaign, because she had to, they're doing the thing and then a disaster happens, and then she has to do a certain set of tasks to get to
it's a bunch of fetch quests.
Yeah, it's a bunch of side quests.
You're right.
Except if you don't do these ones, you die. So
and
I guess
also
it's
you
the
might
main
die
quest.
anyway.
And also you probably die anyway. So I liked it more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't do what
you thought it was going to do.
What I thought it was going to do.
Which was just sit there.
Which was just kind of sit there
in the space sci-fi of it all.
In the helmet with Sandra Bullock, just like heavy breathing, and you get half an hour of that with no explanation. No, this moved along at a really fast pace.
Yeah.
It was very anxiety inducing.
Yes.
Especially the first. I noticed that they did a lot of their spinning at the very beginning.
Right.
With the initial disaster. And I think that was like, we're gonna spin really fast up top to make sure everyone in the theater knows that this is a spinny ass movie.
And if you can't handle it, you got to get out now.
You get a Dramamine or get the fuck out.
Right.
But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
And I guess, shall we?
Yeah.
I did not take that many notes.
No, but I love a good note.
George, I just referred to him as George.
Yeah, fair.
Because we're best friends, I guess.
Your buddy
George is just zooming around on the jetpack.
Yes.
Just because he can.
Because he can.
He's just like,
yeah. An amalgamation of every single like Macho Man astronaut character baked into a single person.
It really reminded me of the Archer episode where they have jetpacks.
Yeah.
And Archer wastes all his fuel just dicking around.
Yes. Oh my god.
I think that's in 1999.
Is that 1999?
Season?
Or is that in the? Is that 1999 or is that in the where they go to space? Nah.
I'm pretty sure it's 1999.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Lana had short hair.
Oh, right.
When the Sharif guy was like giddy and kind of throwing himself up with the tether, I'm like, yeah, let's test those straps. Let's do that. That's a great fucking idea.
Let's do the test strength on those straps.
Test
It'll
the
be
strength
fine.
there.
Yeah,
good. Have
great.
fun with that. And then he got, mutilated by space debris.
Yeah.
During the disaster scene, I wrote, yeah, this is why space was never a career option for me. It's just not. This is not
my deal. Yeah.
I understand and admire the
allure,
explorer mentality,
the Star Trek of it all.
Yeah. And even I'll extend it to submariners and people who go where humans aren't supposed to go.
Be right. It takes a specific kind of person to do that. Yeah.
Because in space, if one little thing goes wrong, it could be catastrophic.
Right.
And that is very. I'm also a little claustrophobic. So the tiny space of it all, I just I could not have
know
been.
if it. I'm almost more agoraphobic with space. It's like that,
which is funny because agoraphobic is
space. Does it mean space?
Agriculture.
Oh, agoraphobic.
It means earth.
Earth. You're afraid of the wide open earth.
Agoraphobic.
Isn't that what that means?
I have no idea.
I thought agoraphobic was the fear of wide open spaces.
It might be.
Oh.
Give me a second.
Okay. I can also look.
Agor. Agoraphobia is the mental and behavioral disorder, specifically an anxiety disorder characterized by symptoms of anxiety, in situations where the person perceives their environment to be unsafe with no easy way of escape.
Oh, well, I definitely have that.
Same.
Wow.
Just like being in crowds, public transits, shopping centers.
The idea of not being able to, like, especially not having your own car. You know, like if you're like stuck with somebody else and you're at a social event, it's like hard to get away. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, what I meant to say and not use that word, I guess, was I like the fear of like that kind of like you're gonna that kind of endless expanse is like it's really freaky.
I don't mind the endless expanse part so much as the I'm shooting through it with no way of stopping.
Right.
Like that's
right.
That's the thing that gets me.
Sure. No, it's definitely a movie that's like, do you have any sort of like physical anxiety trigger? Because we'll find it.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
we will find
is.
it and we will just poke it for the next 90 minutes.
Like heartbeat noises, heavy labored breathing, lack of oxygen, moving too fast and can't stop, stuck in a small space, fire. Like, I mean, like whatever you want, we've got it. It's here for you.
We got it all.
We got it all. This place
movie
has everything.
This movie should have just been called Anxiety.
Anxiety. I feel like somebody did that with the title,
with
like
the letters.
Anxiety, because it really is.
It really is a very anxious movie.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my biggest like film fear is heights.
Like the over the edge. Like,
that shit immediately makes my palms sweat.
100%
like
same.
There was a movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt about the guy who did the tightrope between the two towers in the 80s.
No.
And it was like in 3D, and I'm like, fuck no!
that's gonna be a no from me, dog.
Are you kidding me? Even I was like shaking and had sweaty palms during the fucking preview for it. I was like, no. Joe, what are you doing?
Joe, buddy, my guy, my dude, mi amigo.
I think it was called The Fall.
Oh, God.
Or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. It was a while ago.
Okay.
And I never saw it. Because
duh.
I immediately was like,
right. And I feel like that this movie kind of falls into that same category where it's sort of like designed to just, it's definitely like a thriller.
Yeah.
But it does it in a way that's kind of unusual in my experience. Like nothing's chasing her. Nothing's there. It's just a survival story. It's like a survival thriller story, but it does it in a really interesting way. And I don't know that many movies that have that kind of energy behind them.
It did have like a triumph of human spirit vibe to it.
Right.
I think we'll get to that.
Yeah.
When the camera like passes through quote unquote her helmet into the helmet with her, I kind of wanted it to be like a Robin Hood Men in Tights situation where you just hear the glass break.
Whoops. Yep.
I think that would have been fucking funny. But not
I
this kind of
my
movie.
shit. Yeah, wrong kind of movie, but yeah.
Wrong kind of movie.
Mel Brooks making a shot-for-shot remake of Gravity.
Yeah, okay. Except Mel Brooksian.
Mixed up with Mel Brooksian, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
The dialogue, George Clooney's dialogue was definitely written for Robert Downey Jr.
100%.
I could hear it. Just,
right.
And like you said, during the screening, George is a good other choice for that kind of
role,
banter and role.
Right. It is funny. Like you can, if you grabbed a role written for either of them, like you could drop the other in. Like if you took a role for Robert Downey Jr., you dropped George Clooney in there, like that'd work, or vice versa. Like
he could have been Iron Man, sure,
like that would have worked, and you could have put Robert Downey Jr. in as Emmett Everett, Everett.
Go for Everett.
Like they don't approach the role the same way. They have a different energy, but they kind of do the same thing in a different way.
They're kind of usually the snarky, or a little bit cynical, a little sarcastic, but like kind of genuine.
Right. Yeah.
You can just honestly always tell that their sarcasm and cynicism is a mask. Because they're very loving and caring. I don't know.
Right. No, 100%. Like the whole thing where he starts kind of taunting her while he knows that she's like kind of starting to lose consciousness and he wants her to get to the thing. Well,
I wrote just like on their little jetpack ride over to the International Space Station, that their whole conversation was just, it was him just being kind.
Yeah.
He was just reaching out to her as the only other human for thousands and thousands of miles.
Yeah, like tens of 50,000 miles. Yeah.
And like, I guess the only other living human. Womp womp.
Rip Sharif. Sorry, bud. And also not Sigourney Weaver.
That was jarring. I was like, oh God.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, do I warn her? No, I wasn't warned, and I was in an IMAX theater. She gets to experience that herself.
Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And they're trauma bonding,
right?
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had both made it down to Earth,
they would have fucked.
I mean, they would have done other things first, but yes, they would have been like bonded for life.
For life, 100%.
Visually, just fucking amazing. I can't.
Right.
I can't even.
Yeah.
Like the sunrise visuals, especially, and then there was one shot where it was like the sunrise and then the night with the lights on, you know, down on Earth. I was just like, that's really fucking pretty.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Alfonso. I did not take that many notes. I was like, did she have to be wearing shorts?
Yes.
Is this a no bras in space kind of thing?
Yeah. She got to ditch the buns, but she had to have no bra in space.
she had to have no pants, basically.
Back to the visuals thing. This might be a good time to kind of talk about how they did those a little bit from a technical perspective, because I did unfortunately go on kind of a deep dive with this movie when it came out.
I remember.
I was like,
you were kind of weirdly obsessed.
Yeah, well,
which I mean, welcome to our entire lives.
Yay! Because it was, for me, it was a movie that the whole production really prioritized kind of cutting edge in every aspect of production. Yeah. So but it made sacrifices in other areas. So I found it interesting because they, first of all, they did, you know, they wrote it, they kind of blocked it out and edited it, and then they shot it. So everything, like they had like a virtual camera, and all the camera movements were like he was holding a fake camera and he was in like virtual space.
Oh, like a VR
kind of situation. And or he had like a screen and he was looking at the previs shots of everything and running the camera that way. Oh, and cool. Then and then they edited those previs shots together and edited this whole movie. Yeah. And then they went and shot it. So then they went out and they got they called it the disco box. And it's this room that they would basically strap the actors into.
Yeah, no thanks.
And it basically could do like lights and stuff. Yeah. And then there was just a big cinema camera mounted to the end of like an industrial like robo arm. Yeah. And then it would do all of the actions that the cinematographer did in pre-production. Oh. And then they were able to do all these super precise matched camera angles on the actors. And when you were not looking at, so in every scene, basically, that was just like all you really saw was their face. That's all was shot. Like everything else was CG. So in most shots of that movie, except for the stuff where it's inside and you see all of her, even in that part where she was curled up, they actually, one of her legs was fake. They like digitally built her a leg because her other leg had to like hold herself up or whatever. Yeah. So they did stuff like that. And then so they would be doing all these shots, and so a lot of it was just them acting with their face, and the camera moving around and matching what was going to have to happen digitally later, and then it would just be perfectly lined up when they tried to drop it in and do effects for it.
That's so weird. So they kind of they like pre-baked the story, the movie, and then like actually filled it in with the live stuff later. Okay. Yeah, it was sort of like the opposite of most movies where you do all the shooting and principal photography and then you fill in with the effects. They did all of the effects in post-production and then they shot the movie. That's so weird.
Yeah. And you can kind of tell, like, because it's so precise. Yeah. The way that it's made is so precise that I think it turned people off because it felt that way. Yeah. Because this was before.
Too real.
Yeah. It was kind of before This was before the era of the Mandalorian and the Void, where they were doing that, like virtual sets became more commonplace. And so it was kind of a big deal. And I was in the middle of film school when this movie came out. And so I was just digesting everything I could about how they did it.
Yeah,
because it was just bizarre. And the other kind of fun factoid that I'll put out there, and I believe it was this movie specifically, if I was to use like my main editing rig, if I wanted to render the whole movie as it looks, you know, in the final form, I would have had to have started in 1 CE.
Oof.
Like it would have taken 2,000 years.
That's a lot
to render every single frame of that movie.
Damn.
Like it's just an unbelievable technical achievement.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, sorry. That's one of a few tangents I'm sure I'll go on.
That's okay. I can't remember what I mean, this happens a couple times, but like it was after she cut George loose, and she's like, keep talking to me or something, something like that. And she's just like begging for any kind of human connection. I'm like, that's begging for any semblance of human connection in space is a certain kind of visceral horror.
It is. There is a kind of indescribable horror in this movie that's kind of difficult to capture without
I think I'm like
seeing
not even processing it because it's just, how do you even put yourself in that scenario? The catastrophic destruction sequences with no, explosion sounds.
Yes.
Were really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like very
it's almost more scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they did that in Firefly.
Yes.
A little.
Right. With the much lower budget. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But absolutely.
$16 in a and Alan Tudyk's hair.
Alan Tudyk's hair.
But yeah, just the in space, no one can hear you scream.
Yeah. And I think very few things have captured that initial horror of like the early days of space movies, as well as this has captured that kind of weird, indescribable horror. Yeah.
I signed up for a space disaster movie. I did not expect emotions.
Who approved this?
Damn it, Sandy B. You made me feel things.
Which section?
I think that was
in the Soyuz.
Yeah. When she's like, I'm gonna die,
and she hears the guy in the shortwave.
Yeah.
So fun fact about that: his son Jonas. Yeah. He actually made a short film called Onondaga.
Oh, okay.
And it's the opposite story.
Oh.
So it's like this Inuit family somewhere and they're living their lives and there's this kind of weird connection from the other side. And it's very remote as well. Like it's a remote situation for them as well. And it's this weird kind of like person linking to the stars, and you hear all of her dialogue that she says to him the other way around.
So that's
it's cycled
cool.
back. I'll have to find it. I think it's around somewhere. But he made like a little short film on the other end of it. Yeah.
My last two notes. A self-preservation hallucination that talks you out of suicide.
Hey.
And
it looks like George Clooney.
And then just no.
At the end of
it's just no. I don't know why. I can't remember what I was saying no to, but it just says no.
Oh my god,
but
that's funny.
I really liked the ending.
Yeah.
Where she's, she almost dies again.
Right.
Again,
for like the 7th time.
Yeah. But this time it's because of water, not fire and space explosions.
Isn't it funny how dying in a lake is almost kind of charming? Like how the end of the movie, it feels like almost like, oh man, I could die on Earth. That'd be great.
I think I don't know if this is true, but I feel like they turned the colors way up and at the end,
sound wise too.
Yeah, because of the contrast of black and stars versus the vibrancy of Earth. It
was also an early movie, I think, that used an HDR video pipeline, so they had more they had more color to work with. So that also can create a lot of it's very bright when you watch it.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about audio too.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed, and I think it's because you kind of primed me to notice,
Right.
but in the beginning when they're just working on stuff, it sounds like everything's underwater.
Right. That kind of
I was like, that's...
Oh, and so the underwater thing. So this is actually that's a really good call out.
Yeah.
Because that is how all sound captured, like for diegetic stuff in that movie, was based entirely around transducers. So if it was something that you would hear through sound waves, through air, it just doesn't exist in the movie.
Right.
So, when she was like working with stuff, you'd hear like very clunky stuff. Right. And so it was a mixture of like audio from the radio and the stuff that they were physically interacting with, which I don't think that had been done, and they were going and using the real instruments and real things that they were using and use that to make the transducer noises with the transducers. It was pretty cool. Like, that was another really unique thing that they did, and they made liberal use of the spatial audio technology that they were deploying.
Yeah, they did.
So, like, that was one of the very first films deployed in, it wasn't, I think Brave was the first one, but who's checking? It was one of the very first ones to utilize the Dolby Atmos audio system.
When she was in the Soyuz and like clicking buttons,
you could sound like it was.
I turned my head because I thought there was something like clicking behind your radio. I'm like, what the fuck is?
There a rat back there?
The fucking movie. What the?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it was another. That was another reasons that I found it so enthralling, was because I don't think I've experienced. And again, that was one of the very first Atmos theaters I ever experienced too. Was that one at Navy Pier. And it was just like, I couldn't believe the things that I could hear. And to be fair, you and I did not screen this in Atmos. We just screened it in a 5.1 mix. There was a part of me that was like, I'll just break into my parents' house. We'll use their Atmos rig. But I opted that was a little too much.
I'm fine without it.
Yeah,
I get it.
How much more do you need? What you really would have gotten different is they have height channels. So you get top-down sound.
And... bottom up.
Well, kind of. It's a reflective thing, but
gotcha.
Yeah. But mostly that's what Atmos gives you, is just additional height as part of your. So when you mix for Atmos, you actually drop a sound into the theater. So instead of it being
where you want it to be heard,
right,
that's cool.
It's super cool. Yeah, there's a thing for it on one of the audio workstations I have. You can go in and you can just plop the sound, and then it'll, when it's fed to the theater or to the home theater or whatever, they package it up.
Yeah.
The processor, the Atmos processor on the receiving end, knows what its speaker setup is, and it makes a determination as to where it thinks it should put it.
God, that's weird.
It's totally different. That's what they call. That's why Apple says spatial audio. Like that's what spatial audio is.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty cool. You feel a lot more heightened. They really made use of that, including the score.
Yeah.
And because almost every sound that you heard the score was almost the soundtrack of the movie. Like the score was almost acted more as the noises and sound cues of the movie more than a normal music score that you would hear, which is one of the things I always found really interesting about it. The composer knew what this movie was, and he made it and mixed it in a way that was designed to tell the story in a much more kind of visceral on-site kind of minute, instead of this like kind of sweeping Howard it doesn't do that. It's very like
God, I fucking hated that movie. But yeah, I
gonna get our film cards taken away. Our hatred.
Me.
Look, I will say this.
Come at me with your
film douchebaggery.
Yeah.
To be fair, I do love the aesthetic that 2001 Space Odyssey gave.
It's great,
but
for that reason,
the rest was just a gigantic masturbatory circle jerk.
I don't give a shit.
Right.
There's whatever. I'm wrong. We had that episode already.
Okay, so I am going to, now that I'm getting off my soapbox about the tech, I want to kind of get your take on the story.
It was a very...
It's basic,
yeah.
Right.
And I think with a film of this magnitude and all of the tech stuff that's going into it, a simple story is more acceptable, except Avatar, but that's a whole other thing. Gravity wasn't racist.
So that's one of the reasons I keep saying it's like a theme park attraction.
Yeah.
You need a simple story because it's the way that it works. You couldn't really have a ton of nuance.
Yeah. And for the amount of story that's there, we get kind of deep into at least the two main characters. Sandy B and Georgie C.
Sandy and Georgie.
Yeah. What was I going to say? We get to know a decent amount of their backstory, and they seem like nice people, and they're very, likable characters. We hear about her daughter who died tragically, and maybe that's why she literally left the planet. Right. The lengths people will go to avoid therapy.
That will be the description for this episode.
And then you get a sense that George Clooney's character has a thing for antique cars and women.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Right. He's definitely like coded as like, it's like, oh, you're Buzz Aldrin. Got it. Like kind of just like coded as like classic American, old school, good old boy American astronaut energy.
And you also get, his wife, he was, looking down at Earth every time he would pass over Texas. And think about his wife who was down there looking up at him, and that ended up not being true because she ran off with a lawyer. RUNNOFT.
So he's not bona fide.
He's not bona fide. You ain't bona fide.
And that whole train thing. You get hit by a train.
He got hit by a train. He got hit by a space junk.
By a space junk. Oh no.
That's such a good movie.
It is. That was a good movie.
But I guess that's all I have for notes.
Okay.
Do we want to rate?
Yeah, we might as well rate it, huh?
Yeah.
Let me find my situation here. Production and design. I think that's
what else can you give this movie but a 5?
It's all it is.
It's literally just a 5.
It's literally just a 5.
I don't even know.
Right.
Nah.
Right. Okay, story.
I'll go down to like a 3.5 on this.
Yeah, I think
it's not it's not anything groundbreaking. It's not really character driven as much as
I think the dialogue occasionally gives me James Cameron energy.
A little bit.
Where I'm like, you're just doing like, this feels like a derivative. Like, I don't know how it's like, it's very, very indulgent, some of the dialogue. So I'd be willing to back you on a, what'd you say, 3.5?
3.5.
All right. Sounds good. Performances.
I'd be willing to go up to a 4.5 on that.
Yeah.
Mostly because of just all of the jackassery with all the rigs and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like acting through that. She
did. I genuinely, like, I know people like kind of shat on some aspects of this movie, which some of it was deserved.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you can ignore the fact that Sandra Bullock did a fucking amazing job.
She did.
Like, she was alone the whole time in like a room full of lights, and it hooked up to weird rigs, hold herself in weird contorted positions. Yep. And she acted so well that whole time. It was so just genuine the whole time that, okay, 4.5.
Yeah.
All right, 4.5 it is. Cultural impact. This is going to be a weird one for cultural impact, because I don't have a good answer for that on my end.
I'd say maybe a 3.5 or 4, because I'm not cultural impact. I don't think this movie made that big of a splash.
Yeah.
But what it has led to as far as the technology goes,
right?
Like you said,
it advanced the art form.
Yeah. It did advance the art form quite a bit.
Yeah.
Especially with the Mandalorian is very popular.
True. And it kind of evolved on top of that kind of technology.
So I'd be willing to go up to a 4.
All right. I feel it.
Mostly just because it was a progenitor of things that came later.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
In a good way.
Not
in a Fight Club way.
Woof.
Call back to episode
1, y'all. This is episode 21.
Yeah?
Yeah. Which is wild.
Our podcast is old enough to drink. Woo!
That's not how that works.
Shut up. Yes, it is.
What? Okay. So shall we find out where it lives in this list?
Yeah. I'm kind of curious. I'm going to say somewhere in the middle, though.
It is tied. It is in a 3-way tie.
Hot.
Right. It's not gay when it's in a 3-way. See myself out. It is in a 3-way tie with Grosse Pointe Blank and the Da Vinci Code.
Okay.
Which, yeah, okay. I'll buy that.
Yeah. John Cusack, Tom Hanks, and
and Sandra Bullock.
B.
Yeah,
I think in the middle, though. Yeah.
In the middle of it, like you can take a kind of flat script and do a good job if you're Tom Hanks, Sandy B.
Oh yeah.
Or John Cusack.
Or Joan Cusack.
Or Joan Cusack.
I think Joan Cusack was a big reason that.
Woof. She's
so
amazing. My love of Joan Cusack didn't exist until we started this podcast. Like truly, like she's,
you hadn't really seen anything with her in it.
Like I just didn't know,
except like Toy Story, but then
that's not a good example. Yeah, no,
that's just voice acting.
She's phenomenal, and I have nothing.
Fantastic, and I love her.
Yeah,
Joan Cusack, come on our podcast. John Cusack, come on our podcast. Cusack.
I love that we're just gonna keep like trying to manifest people showing up on our podcast.
Oh yeah, I'm never gonna stop.
Joan Cusack, come on our podcast.
I think that's something I picked up from B3E.
just kept like wishfully trying to get that happen. I feel
Absolutely.
I feel it. Okay. Well, goodness sakes, this was a quick one, but I think that we there isn't. That's the thing about this movie. It's
other
so
than
slick.
The tech stuff. Yeah. It's not. There's not really
that much
else to bash or.
Did anything like really bug you like a lot? Was there a thing that bugged you more than anything else? I'd love to get like
all the spinning. I could have done without that. I could have done without needing a Dramamine.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And the heavy labored breathing. That was what actually got my mom.
I was okay once I got used to it.
Right.
The breathing, not the spinning.
Right.
The spinning.
Right. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Just be glad you didn't watch it in the curved IMAX.
I would have vomited.
It was a lot.
The freaking Omni Theater. Can you imagine?
It was the place I saw it was, I believe, that sized screen, but not a dome. So yeah, it was great. It was a lot.
Dome is like my
actual nightmare.
Actual nightmare right now.
Amazing. Just wakes up. Oh God, I'm watching Gravity in a dome. Cool. The thing that always got me was I never understood why he she held on to him, and she was why I don't know why she couldn't have pulled him back. But I also know that they've done research in physics on this and proven that is actually probably how that would have worked.
Yeah.
But also, if that was my biggest complaint about the physics of this movie, I feel like that I shouldn't really talk about anything. So
I don't understand. I mean, I
get it from a basic. We experience physics from a day-to-day basis, but yeah. Anyway, well, my goodness. I don't have anything else. If you have anything else,
I don't have anything else either.
All right. Well,
I'm gonna go throw up.
Yeah. Well, then let's get some dinner.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. This has been Film School Slacker. I'm Ian.
I'm Megan.
And we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to Film School Slacker. Our graphic design is by Mitch Ransdell. Music by Ariel Shalom and Ziv Moran. Voiceover audio provided by Mike D and Janet Paoni. Learn more at filmschoolslacker.com.